Shama Kunda, Radha Kunda, Giri Govardhan, Shama Kunda, Radha Kunda, Giri Govardhan, Kalindi, Yamuna Jaya Jaya Mahavan, Kalindi, Yamuna Jaya Jaya Mahavan, Kishigata Vamsivata Vadasha Kana Tata Vamsivata Dwadasa Kana Jaha Saba Lila Koloshi Nanda Nanda Jaha Saba Lila Shri Nanda Yasoda Jaya Jaya Gopaka Yasoda Jaya Jaya Gopaka Shiramari Jaya Jaya Dena Vatsakan Shiramari Jaya Jaya Dena Vatsakan Jaya Vishabhanu Jaya Kirtida Sundari Jaya Vishabhanu Jaya Kirtida Sundari Jaya Purnamasi Jaya Abhirana Puri Jaya Purnamasi Jaya Abhirana Gari Jaya Jaya Gopeshwara Vrindavanama Jaya Jaya Gopeshwara Vrindavanama Jaya Jaya Krishna Saka Patudijara Jaya Ramakatha Jaya Rohini Nandan. Jaya Ramakatha Jaya Rohini Nandan. Jaya Ramakatha Jaya Rohini Nandan. Rohini Nandan. Jaya Jaya Vrindavan Basi Jatta Jam. Jaya Dija Patni Jaya Nagakanya Gan. Nagakanya Gan. Bhakti Teja Hara Palo Govinda Charan. Shirasa Mandala Jaya Jaya Radha Sham. Jaya Jaya Lila Sarva Manoram. Jaya Jaya Rasa Lila Sarva Manoram. Jaya Jaya Rasa Lila Sarva Manoram. Jaya Jaya Jala Rasa Sara Rasa Sar. Parakiya Bhave Jaha Bhajate Prachar. Shri Janava Pada Padma Kori Asmaran. Dina Krishna Dasa Kohe Nam Sankirtan. Jai Radhe Jai Krishna Jai Vrindavan. Jai Radhe Jai Krishna Jai Vrindavan. Shri Govinda Gopinath Madan Mohan. Shama Kunda, Radha Kunda, Giri Govardhan. Shama Kunda, Radha Kunda, Giri Govardhan. Kalindi Jamuna Jaya Jaya Mahabha. Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan. Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Ashtata Satashri Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ananta Kota Vaishnavinda ki Namacharya Shla Haridas Thakur ki Prem Se Goho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan ki, Shri Vrindavan Dham ki, Shri Mayapur Dham ki, Ganga Maya ki, Yamuna Maya ki, Tulsi Devi ki, Bhakti Devi ki, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki, Harinam Sankirtanam ki, Prihatmaranga ki, Appearance day of Shri Radha Kunda ki jai, Shri Bahulastami ki, Go Premanande. Oh, glories to the assembled devotees. Oh, glories to the assembled devotees. Glories to the assembled devotees. Oh, glories to Shri Guru Gauranga. Oh, glories to Shri Prabhupada. Namo Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prastaya Bhutale, Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane. Namaste Sarasvate Devi, Gaudavani Pracharine, Nirvasesha Sunyavadi, Paschatjadeshatarine. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuranamilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandehang Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupram Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatan Vitang Tang Sajivam Sadvetam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishaka Anvitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jaya Sri Krishna Che Oh Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyebhya Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Gauritai ki jai, Shri Krishna Balaram ki jai, Shri Giri Govardhan ki jai, Shri Lakshmi Singha ki jai, Shri Radha Govinda Madhava ki jai, Shri appearance of Shri Radha Kunda ki jai, Shri Bahulastami ki jai. Go Premanandi. Hare Krishna. How many of us have been to Radha Kunda? We could ask a question there, couldn't we? Have we really been to Radha Kunda? Have we really been? Yes, no? No, yes. Nice, we remember. To remember Radha Kunda. And we're going to read, I have a bag of nectar here. very wonderful day to become eligible to approach the most holy place in the universe, Radha Kunda. So, some of us have read this book. We have it in French also, Upadeshamrit, Sri Upadeshamrit. How many of you have read this book? Please put your hands up. Nectar of Instruction. Not everybody, most of the devotees have read it to some extent. How much we've realized. What can I say? I don't know. But this is the book which extols the glories of Radha Kunda, compiled by Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada. There's even a little picture, used to be a big picture on the front cover when this book was first published. Oh, okay, we'll put it on the floor. Nowhere else to put it. When this book was first published in 1976, I remember that year was very historic year, every year. Some of you may have been in Mayapur, Vrindavan that year. Were you there that year, Gopaswami Prabhu? 1976. That's the year this book was published. And it came in Mayapur. And everyone was getting this book, a little different edition and different cover. We all getting the book, and everyone was so elated, so excited. Something very special. And of course, especially the last section, the last 3 verses of this book talk about the necessity, the importance of Radha Kunda and bathing in Radha Kunda. So when we arrived in Vrindavan, this was not at this occasion, this was in March. Part of the, we call parikramas, going to various holy places in Vrindavan Dham. One day, we went to Radha Kunda. And what a nice swimming pool. A nice playground for the monkeys. The monkeys from England and America and Australia. We all very enthusiastically enjoyed ourselves in Radha Kunda. We bathed in Radha Kunda. Of course, when it came to the attention of Srila Prabhupada, how we bathed in Radha Kunda, it was a different story. Although there are other incidences where Prabhupada surely did, including the purports here, encourages the bathing in Radha Kunda. But on this occasion, after hearing what happened, Srila Prabhupada said, no, enough is enough. Radha Kunda is not a swimming pool. It's not a, some kind of entertainment place as such. And we'll hear a bit more. Usually we hear more about the sweet glories, transcendental glories of Sri Radha Kunda, which we'll also hear. But we'll also hear about a little bit more about the meaning of Radha Kunda and bathing in Radha Kunda from our acharyas. I do not know, although there may have been an occasion, of any occasion actually, where Srila Prabhupada personally bathed in Radha Kunda. I don't know of any. He certainly went there a few times, and he would take the water on his head. That's what he then recommended we do, if we're going there. Or, let's say, getting the opportunity to remember Radha Krishna by going there. So we're going to begin. Well, I guess before we forget, we can just tell a little bit about Bahulastami. Today is the day, and usually when you read, you say Bahulastami, the day when Radha Kunda appeared. That's often what we hear. I mean, you may not hear any more than that. Certainly is. Traditionally, it's a festival. The bathing in Radha Kunda is not traditionally maybe amongst Gaudiya Vaishnavas, but amongst a lot of local people, it's a day when ladies who are having a problem having babies take their bath on this day in Radha Kunda. They worship some demigoddess, some name, Horari or something, funny name. And that's the local custom. And of course it's gone obviously much more spiritual and beyond that, but historically that's one of the events that takes place. But we normally don't think of that. We're thinking in terms of the transcendental, most ecstatic appearance of Radha Kunda. So it is related to Bahulastami, because the Radha Kunda, the actual lake of Radha Kunda, is considered to be within the forest. Bahulaban. We just sung about the 12 forests of Vrindavan, a little bit. And one of those forests is called Bahulaban. Van is forest, Bahula. The forest of Bahula. Bahula it sounds some strange word, but it's the name of a cow. Name of a cow. The forest is named after a cow, but not an ordinary cow. So the history goes that once upon a time there was this cow, and he was, like we name our cows, Ganga and whatever, different names we give our cows, Deva and, well, in different places, yeah. We have different names for our cows and our bulls, so as we give names to our dogs in the Western world even. We call our dogs names, right? Cats have names, dogs have names. We used to give a name to our budgerigar. It's personal, they're persons. So this cow was known Bahula. And one day Bahula was grazing peacefully in the field. I guess there was grass in those days. He was grazing peacefully in the field, and all of a sudden along came a tiger. Tiger. And as we probably know, tigers are not very considerate in terms of their prey, of their food. Anything with flesh is an object of their, their attention when they're hungry. So this tiger eyed Bahula and came upon him and pounced towards Bahula, intending to kill the cow and eat it. And Bahula, oh please, wait a minute. Bahula suddenly reacted. Please give me one chance before you eat me. I promise I let you eat me, but please let me just once more feed my calf and say goodbye. The tiger somehow or another, okay then, believed the cow. So the cow, Bahula, went back to the near village where his calf was. And the master was also there, the farmer. And the cow was very sad and came there to feed the calf and explain what happened to the farmer and the calf. And they both became very, very, oh no, let me go and be eaten by the tiger. They both said like that. And Bahula said, no. No one would let the other one go. So eventually all three of them went. The tiger was in ecstasy. Well, when he had one cow, now he's got a cow, calf, and a man. He can have a feast. It was a Sunday feast. So then, just as he was about to start his meal. Suddenly, Krishna appeared on the scene. And he had in a form, it wasn't in his two arms, he had his chakra in his hand. And of course, it put everyone back a little bit, even the tiger. And Krishna said, look, tiger, if you do promise you will not touch any of these three personalities, don't eat them. I promise you eternal fame. Deliverance from this world. Tiger, living in Vrindavan, I guess, was a bit intelligent. He said, okay, I accept it. Just like ourselves in the material world, Krishna says, I promise, if you no longer try to eat the material world through your senses, I promise you deliverance from this world and eternally situated in the spiritual realm. But we want to carry on eating the material world. In kind of an example, trying to enjoy the material world around us, trying to take it in, and this mine, this person, that person, adjust it for my pleasure. And Krishna said to the tiger, you give that up, and I'll deliver you. Surrender unto me, I deliver you. From all your sinful reactions, take you back to Godhead. The tiger agreed. So the tiger actually became, I don't know the name, became one of Krishna's wives. And then Krishna blessed the cow also. He named a whole forest after that cow, Bahula. It became Bahulaban. And within that forest, Radha Kunda appeared within that forest. The most auspicious place in all creation. So we hear something now about the event, or not the event, about the nature of Radha Kunda. This is from Nectar of Instruction. And if you want to follow us, you can. It's text number, must be 9. Text number 9. If you don't have this book in French or English, we do have plenty of stock. You can get one. As I mentioned the other day in the Zoom class, we had a time in England we were distributing this on Sankirtan. I don't know if you did it here. We were distributing a trilogy. Nectar of Instruction, Isopanishad, and one other book. I can't remember which one. Maybe it was Path of Perfection or something. 3 books in a little box, trilogy. And one company in England, they do, I can never remember the English word, but they study your products and give you feedback as to which is the most suitable for your purpose. You know what? There's a word for it. I've forgotten what it is. Survey? Huh? A survey? A survey is one thing, but it's a specific type of survey. Huh? That's something else. Anyway, they study your products. If you're selling, what is the best thing in your products? What, they give ratings, Because we go ahead distributing what we want. It's like with prasadam, if you're trying to sell prasadam, we distribute what I like. But it doesn't mean everyone else likes it. So you have, somebody analyzes your, the type of food you're selling and tells you what is most effective for the market that you're in. Market survey, could be, like that. So they did that with our books. One of our devotees, Amita, he got them to do it. He was one of our Sankirtan leaders then. And they studied all. They didn't take the Bhagavad Gita. They said, this is scripture, something different, or nectar of devotion. They didn't touch those. They just took all the paperback books. Science of Self-Realization, Coming Back, Nectar of Instruction, all the small books, the whole lot. Chant and Be Happy, whatever we had at the time. Higher Taste. And their conclusion was this is the best book we had for the public. Can you believe it? Surprising, huh? They said, this is your best book for distribution to the public. We were surprised. They said, because this book tells a person what you're really doing, what your philosophy is. The other books beat around the bush, if you know that term. You know, they tell you a bit of this and try to hook you with this bit of that, and they don't get to the point. This book gets right to the point from in America they say, A to Z, beginning to end. Now, we're jumping to the end here. Radha Kunda. We're jumping to the end. But everyone knows you don't get a PhD at the beginning of your course. Generally. Right? You generally have to go through a course, is it not? School, high school, college, university, study, this. And eventually you may, if you're eligible and you want, get a PhD for all it's worth. So similarly in spiritual life, we know this. So here we see what is the goal, the highest goal. But also in this book, it gives the means by which we can reach that highest goal. If we think that just by reading about the highest goal we've got there, we're not quite online. Prabhupada said here, Radha Kunda. Yes, every devotee, they must follow the rules and regulations, that's all. Prabhupada's talking about Radha Kunda actually. And engage in practical service to Krishna? Prabhupada, that's a question. Prabhupada, yes. Guru Mukha Padmavakya Chitete Koriya Aikya Arana Kariya Mani Ash. Has he taken order from Guru Maharaj that I am going to jump over Radha Kunda? Why does he go? Daily singing Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitete Arna Kariha. Why should he desire like that? Gopal Krishna. There are some devotees who always want Prabhupada. They are not devotees. Don't say some devotees. Devotees will hear Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitete Kariha Aikya Arana Kariha Mane. Achyutananda. They also wear the Radha Kunda Mati, tilak, and these beads and stuff. Prabhupada, there is no harm. They should understand, though, what is Radha Kunda and how to deal with Radha Kunda. Raghunath Das Goswami showed how to live in Radha Kunda. Sankhya Purvaka Nama Gananatibi Kalavasani Krito. He was circumambulating Radha Kunda, falling down, Dandivat, making a mark. That is Radha Kunda Vasi. Sankhya Purvaka Nama Gananatibi. Not only he counted holy names, but offering obeisances so many hundreds of times. Every day, thousands of times he would offer obeisances to the holy, to the Lord, to the Vaishnavas. Everybody he saw them as his superior, bowing down. Radha Kunda is the manifestation of absolute humility, devoid of any trace of anything but loving affection for Krishna. There is not even an iota of anything but pure love for Krishna, Krishna prema, at its highest point. That is Radha Kunda. He's so much vairagya he showed. He can take bath in Radha Kunda. First of all, do like Raghunath Das Goswami. Sankhya Purvaka Nama Gananatibi Kalavasani Krito Nirahara Viharakari Vichito Chatyanta Dino Chayo. Constantly chanting, constantly offering his obeisances, bowing down in the dust of the Dham, Sri Vrindavan Dham. We're serving everyone. This morning in the Sikshastakam, the third verse, Trinada Pisa Nityena Tarora Pisa Hishnuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari. This is the mood. This is the steps. It's not like we can't reach the next ones until we go through this one. It's stages of sadhana bhakti, practicing to become eligible. And when we start our course, we know that the goal may be a PhD, but we haven't got there. We need to know the goal. We may not immediately reach the goal. There's a means to reach the goal. So Upadeshamrita instructions to reach the goal. To not necessarily reach the goal of bathing in Radha Kunda exactly as we perceive it now. It's to reach the goal of unalloyed, pure, loving devotional service in Krishna, prem, love for Krishna. Our goal. When we look at it another way, we devotees sometimes see like this, but did Mother Yasoda ever bathe in Radha Kunda? No. Did Subal bathe in Radha Kunda? Did Balaram bathe in Radha Kunda? No. They may not even gone near it. It's specific, isn't it? Manifestation of a specific loving, highest loving relationship between Radha and Krishna and the confidential gopis. But no one else can go there. They can't even go there. What happens if you're in Sakyaras? What are you doing there? Get out. Huh? We're not, what ras are we in? Rascal ras. Right? We're not even in Dasya ras. What to speak of Sakya or Vatsalya or Madhurya? Does it make sense? In one sense. Of course, by the grace of the pure devotees, those who are in Madhurya Ras, they may give us that opportunity to at least be aware of it. Because other sampradayas, practically men now may be becoming aware now, but traditionally they have no idea about Radha Kunda. It's not part of their, let's say, their line. It's so confidential, this relationship between Radha and Krishna. So confidential. And Radha Kunda is a manifestation of that confidentiality. We'll read now from a little bit more from the Nectar of Instruction. I'd love to read the Sanskrit, but we won't, time. The holy place, this text number 9 if you want to follow. The holy place known as Mathura is spiritually superior to Vaikuntha, the transcendental world, because the Lord appeared there. He appeared there in the history, of course, as the son of Devaki and Vasudeva. So he appeared in somewhat reverential form. That's another thing. Although Prabhupada said we should be very reverential when we approach Radha Kunda, we can't enter into Radha Kunda in a reverential mood. It's kind of almost like a contradiction. We pay our respects, but we're not eligible to enter in as long as there is an iota of reverence in our consciousness. Lakshmi, she wanted to enter into the Rasa Leela, but because she has a reverential feeling towards her Lord, she was unable to enter in. So what to speak of Radha Kunda? So in Mathura is higher than Vaikuntha, because Krishna appeared there. But because the Lord, superior, however, to Mathura Puri is the transcendental forest of Vrindavan. Because the mood, the relationship, the rasa, the mellow relationship is more enriched, is more personal, more complete. It has so many different features, going deeper and deeper and deeper. And superior. Why is the forest of Vrindavan superior to Mathura? Because of Krishna's Rasa Leela pastimes there. Maybe other pastimes, but specifically this one. And superior to the forest of Vrindavan is Govardhan Hill. How many of us have been to Govardhan Hill? It's a little more accessible. It's a little more accessible than Vrindavan. Even Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj said, I will not reside in Radha Kunda. I'm not eligible. My gurus are eligible. but I will stay somewhere in a village in Govardhan and come there to serve them. He said that one time. Of course, he had a house in his father had a house in Radha Kunda, and he said, build another floor. I will put them on the top floor and I will stay underneath them. And above all, so we have Govardhan Hill, for it was raised by the divine hand of Sri Krishna and was the site of his various loving pastimes. Raised by the divine hand. Sometimes we hear little finger of the left hand, huh? Boom, 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 boom. But you'll see in most scriptures it says Krishna picked the hill up with his hand. And then he put it on the little finger. He picked it up with his hand, as this verse here says. And above all, the super excellent. Super excellent. Super excellent what? Above all. Radha Kunda. Easy one. Above all, the super excellent Sri Radha Kunda stands supreme. For it is overflooded with the ambrosial nectarian prema of the Lord of Gokul, Sri Krishna. Love for Krishna. Radharani's love is unlimited, unlike the limited reservoirs of this world, or the unlimited endeavors for us to imitate this love in this world. They are all subject to limitation, both by time and by quantity. Where then is that intelligent person who is unwilling to serve this divine Radha Kunda, which is situated at the foot of Govardhan Hill? Well, I'm very intelligent. Yes. Obviously, I'm qualified to serve Radha Kunda. I'm very intelligent. It's kind of a reverse statement. Where then is that intelligent person who is unwilling to serve the divine Radha Kunda? Understanding what is intelligent, of course, is another thing. And if we're actually intelligent, we would not want to serve Radha Kunda. But how we serve Radha Kunda and what it means to serve Radha Kunda is another thing also. Time is short. I'll just read some of the purport. Radha Kunda, at the foot of Govardhan, is superior to all, because it is there that love of Krishna overflows. Advanced devotees prefer to reside at Radha Kunda because this place is the site of many memories of the eternal loving affairs between Krishna and Radharani, Rati Vilas. I just mentioned one other thing because I might forget, is that this day, Bahulastami, where we generally remember the appearance of Radha Kunda, is a question mark in many people's minds. Because according to Sanatana Goswami, Radha Kunda did not appear on this day. Radha Kunda appeared at the full moon of Chaitra season, just after the killing of the Arista demon. You probably heard, if you read Krishna book, the killing of Aristasura, and how then, Krishna killed the bull in the form of a bull. Aristasura means bull. Krishna killed this great demon who was terrorizing Vrindavan. So Krishna killed him. He just thrashed him on the ground, woof, 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 like this. And then he pulled out one of his horns and killed him with the horn. And like that, Krishna killed a bull. So then Krishna, after that, later pastimes of Krishna in Vrindavan, Krishna then wanted to consort with Radharani and the gopis. No, stay away, you sinful person. What do you mean? You just killed a bull. Very sinful activity. Of course, the bull was about to kill everyone else, so Krishna, protecting the Vaishnavas, protecting the residents of Braj, killed the bull. But nonetheless, they said, no, you are contaminated now, you are sinful. Now you have to go to purify yourself. You have to visit all the holy places in the universe and take a bath. That will keep him busy for a while. This mischievous rascal out of the way. Krishna said, what is this? So immediately he called upon all the holy places of the universe to appear on the spot. And he just, boom, put his heel in the ground and immediately created a big hole, and all the rivers all came flowing in. He asked them all to flow into this beautiful, hole. What else you can say? Beautiful creation. And they all flowed in there. They all appeared in there. And then Krishna took his bath. He said, okay, now I have bathed in all the holy places of the universe. It happened very quickly. Didn't take him long. And he said, okay, now, but now, what have you done? What auspicious activities have you done? Now you're not pure. Now I'm pure. I bathed in all the holy places of the universe. But you're not pure. So in Radharani, she became, all right. She gathered up her billions of gopis, and together they all decided that they would make another kund. And they started to dig into the ground, making a huge, big hole. They used their, what do you call these? Nupuras, or different things to cut into the ground, and making a big reservoir. And then Krishna said, okay, now with the water from my kund, we can let it come into your kund. He said, no, your water is contaminated because you bathed in there and you're sinful. We will not have your water, your dirty water. We will have, and of course at first he didn't believe that this was the holy rivers and everything had came into Krishna's kund anyway. At first she didn't believe it, but then Krishna said, he called the holy places personified, and they appeared there before Radharani and the gopis, and all right. But still it's contaminated because you bathed in there. So then they said, or she said, we will bring the water from the pure Manasi Ganga, and we will fill up my kund with this water. So billions of gopis were bringing pots from 5 kilometers back and forth to fill her kund. But it was somehow or another, it just was taking time. And so eventually the holy places personified begged Radharani, please accept our service. And eventually she surrendered. And it said at midnight, thereabouts, so that's questionable also. This depends, maybe in different millennia, different things took place. But anyway, whatever it is, that the junction between the two kunds opened up and the water poured into Radha Kund. And then Radharani bathed in that kund. That kund is very, very special. But Sanatana Goswami says that pastime of the appearance of Radha Kund took place usually in March, is the full moon of the Chaitra season, first months of the year after Gaur Purnima, that Radha Kund appeared. So the Gaudiya Vaishnavas celebrate both. They're both these events, because Radha Kund, when Lord Chaitanya went to Vrindavan, he traveled sometime 500 years ago, more or less. He traveled to Vrindavan, and he was searching for Radha Kund, because he was in that mood. Nobody else was searching. Nityananda wasn't searching. Maybe the Goswamis may have been thinking a bit about it, but Nityananda didn't. Advaita was there, he never mentioned. But Lord Chaitanya was searching for Radha Kund and Shama Kund. But nobody could tell him. He came to the village of Aristagram, said to be the area where Aristasura was killed. And there Lord Chaitanya inquired from all the local residents, it's near on the sort of base of Govardhan, do you know where Radha Kunda and Shama Kunda? No one could say where. And Lord Chaitanya himself, I'll read it. It's right there in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Chapter 18 of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu danced in ecstasy when he arrived at Aristogram. His sense perception was awakened. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked the local people, where is Radha Kunda? No one could inform him, and the Brahmin accompanying him did not know either. The Lord then understood that the holy place called Radha Kunda was no longer visible. However, being the omniscient, supreme personality of Godhead, he discovered Radha Kunda and Shama Kunda in 2 paddy fields. There was only a little water, but he took his bath there. He was naturally attracted. According to our heart, we're naturally attracted towards certain things and certain people. Lord Chaitanya's heart was in this mood of Radharani. He was naturally attracted to that place where unmanifested Radha Kunda and Shama Kunda, naturally attracted. When the people of the village saw Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taking his bath in those 2 ponds in the middle of the paddy fields, they were very astonished. The Lord then offered his prayers to Sri Radha Kunda. Of all the gopis, he said, Radharani is the dearmost. Similarly, the lake known as Radha Kunda is very dear to the Lord because it is very dear to Srimati Radharani. Whatever is dear to Radharani, that is what is dear to Krishna. He doesn't worry about what's dear to him. He's just thinking of what pleases Radharani. Chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, and so on and so forth. That's what pleases Krishna. That's one of the reasons we don't generally chant Radharani's name separately from Krishna's. Radharani is not pleased like that. Our business is to please Krishna, but how we please Krishna is we please Radharani. There's no way you can jump over Radha Kunda. Radha Kunda is not different than Radharani. We can't jump over Radharani. Devotional service comes down from her in different moods, but it originates in this form of Radharani, pure bhakti, pure devotion. We can't jump over what pleases Radharani. The lake known as Radha Kunda, of all the gopis, Radharani is dearmost. Similarly, the lake known as Radha Kunda is very dear to the Lord because it is very dear to Radharani. Srimati Radharani is most dear to Krishna, and her lake known as Radha Kunda is also very dear to him. Of all the gopis, Srimati Radharani is certainly the most beloved. In that lake, Lord Krishna and Srimati Radharani used to sport daily in the water and have a rasa dance on the bank. Indeed, Lord Krishna gives ecstatic love like that of Srimati Radharani to whoever bathes in that lake even once in his life. The attraction of Radha Kunda is as sweet as that of Radharani. Similarly, the glories of the Kund are as glorious as Srimati Radharani. Because of its wonderful transcendental qualities, Radha Kunda is as dear to Krishna as Srimati Radharani. It was in that lake that the all-opulent Lord Sri Krishna performed his pastimes with Srimati Radharani with great pleasure and transcendental bliss. Whoever bathes just once in Radha Kunda attains Srimati Radharani's loving attraction for Sri Krishna, who within this world can describe the glories and sweetness of Sri Radha Kunda. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu thus offered prayers to Radha Kunda. Overwhelmed in ecstatic love, he danced on the bank, remembering the pastimes Lord Krishna performed on the bank of Radha Kunda. Now, before everyone runs off, which we're going to start doing now, thinking, okay, as soon as the lockdown's over, I'm off to Radha Kunda to take my bath and attain eternal perfection just by bathing once in Radha Kunda. I think it's appropriate to read a little bit more specific about this in terms of what it means to take a bath, because in the Nectar of Instruction it is mentioned, but only indirectly. But Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj mentions it quite directly, what it means to take bath in Radha Kund once. Now, back to the appearance of Radha Kund, before I just read this. It is understood that this day is the day when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu discovered Radha Kund, or uncovered it. That is more or less confirmed. So either way, it's the appearance of Radha Kund and Shyama Kund. So both days are glorious. Now, here's an interesting section in this amazing compilation by Bhakti Vikash Maharaj called Sri Bhakti Siddhanta Vaibhav. If any of you have ever read it or heard of it or seen it. It's not something we're going to read today. It's 3 volumes, and it's, some extra on top of reading the basic books of Prabhupada. Ooh, it's a bit dangerous, isn't it? Maybe someone can take this one away, but put it back in the bag there in case I lose it. So let's read what Bhakti Siddhanta Maharaj says. In his Upadeshamrita, Srila Rupa Goswami has ascertained that within the hallowed Brajamandal, most sacred were Govardhan and especially Radha Kund. Srila Saraswati Thakur regarded these as his supreme objects of worship and often expressed profound veneration for them. He revealed Radha Kund at Chaitanya Mat, that's in Mayapur, also present there. And it's also present in Puri, in Alalanath. Radha Kund is also there. And considered a particular pond in Alalanath non-different from Radha Kund. He once expressed a desire to reside eternally in Govardhan. I already mentioned that. Similarly, he also instructed his disciples not to live independently at Radha Kund. If they were to reside there, it should be only to serve their gurus at Braja Svananda Sukara Kunj in Mayapur. Otherwise, he advised them not to reside at Radha Kund. Although Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati sometimes stayed at Radha Kund, he rarely physically bathed there, but generally would only offer obeisances, dandavats, to circumambulate and sprinkle upon his head a little water of this incomparably sacred pond. Yet in 1935, on Bahulastami, the anniversary of the appearance of Radha Kund, after performing Sankirtan and Parikrama of Radha Kund with accompanying disciples, he bathed therein. Interesting. Where's that point mentioned? In 1922, it's recorded he actually did fully bathe in Radha Kund. But devotees, his disciples, said that later on he did not bathe at all, except for in 1935. And when it mentions in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu about this bathing, it means bathing in the ocean, he said, in the ocean of the nectar of devotional mellows. This is the meaning of bathing in Radha Kund. And is also the title of a famous work. Actually, the very meaning of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. That's what it means. To bathe in the nectar of devotional mellows. This is the, you could say, the understandable meaning of bathing in Radha Kund. When asked if Radha Kund referred to in the Sri Upadeshamrita, this little book we just read a bit of just now, was geographical or mental, he replied that neither understanding was correct. For Radha Kund is a fully conscious reality, and that although according to the Prakrita Sahajas, those who take devotional service very cheaply and imitate, one cannot actually be accepted as a Gaudiya Vaishnava without bathing in Radha Kund. That's what they say. Their ostensible dip in Radha Kund was merely imitative. He goes on to say, there are some good people in Braja Mandal, in Vrindavan, most who pride themselves on being Brajvasis and regard themselves as great devotees are preoccupied with engaging others to feed them fancy foods and worship their feet. Anyone who can feed them and please them with monetary gifts is acknowledged as a Vaishnava. Seeing that we do not souse in Radha Kund, which hamstrings their collecting of religious fees, we don't mess around there and start to pamper them, giving them money, etc. These putative Brajbasis broadcast, these people don't bathe in Radha Kund or respect the venerable devotees. What kind of Vaishnavas are they? Some say that we are Arya Samajis, others Brahmos, Christians or whatever, Western mlechas, etc. or whatever. But it never enters their thick skulls of these so-called Brajbasi Vaishnavas that bathing in the divine Radha Kund is not possible at all with mundane contaminated senses. It is not possible at all, and thus not achieved by dunking or dipping a bag of bones and flesh in the water. If they bathe in Radha Kund without accepting the purport of a Takshi Krishna Namadi, the Bhavadgrayam Indrayi, they will be deprived of Krishna's mercy. Very heavy words. Takshi Krishna Namadi means that no one can understand the transcendental nature of either Radha Kund or Krishna or transcendence itself with materially contaminated senses. It is not possible. One has to be completely purified by the process, as Nectar instruction teaches us in the earlier verses, how to proceed to the totally purified platform devoid of any envy or pride or anything but desire to satisfy the senses of Krishna, Radha and Krishna. Commenting on Rupa Goswami's recommendation in the Upadeshamrita to reside at and bathe in Radha Kund, Srila Saraswati Thakur stated, Aprakrit Vasa, transcendental residence on the banks of the prema-filled Radha Kund, and Aprakrit Snan, transcendental bath. It's not a material bath. We go in with our soap. Some people go in there with their soap and do all sorts of things. And it says, Aprakrita Snan in her waters, saturated in the nectar of prema, means to become wholly aloof from all desires for material sense enjoyment, and up to the end of life to constantly perform manasa bhajan, deep meditational worship with one-pointed submission to Srimati Radhika, and after shedding the mortal body to attain one's eternal spiritual form, as it states in Nectar of Instruction. Sometimes we skip that one. In a spiritual form, one takes bath, not a material bag of bones and flesh. In one's eternal spiritual form and intently perform direct eternal service to Srimati Radhika. One who actually in this manner bathes in Radha Kund attains this topmost desirable boon. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati referred to Sri Jagannath Das Babaji as the sole custodian of Radha Kund. Regarding the spurious Babajis apparently living there, he commented, Radha Kund is protected like a fort by the associates of Srimati Radhika, who prohibit persons of contrary consciousness to enter therein. Unfortunately, the luckless Prakrita Sahajas, and we may also be in that mentality, although we may not be defined as such, we are still attached to sense gratification and think we're eligible. We're not. Many songs, even Narottam Das sings that song. Huh? Gauranga Bolite Habe. How does it go? Is that one verse there? I've forgotten the Sanskrit, or Bengali, whatever it is. Charya Vaishnava say no. How does it go? Anyway, whatever it is. He states there that unless one is completely freed, totally freed of any trace of desire to enjoy separately from Krishna, one cannot enter into Vrindavan. We go there to the, you could say, what mercy, the tip of the iceberg appearing in this world, Krishna's embassy in this world, to get purified. We don't go there to think, I am, advanced devotee and this and that. We're going there to become purified by hearing from the pure devotees therein how to enter into Vrindavan. How to enter in. Unfortunately, the luckless Prakriti Sahajas think themselves qualified to reside there and attempt to pollute the entirely transcendental Radha Kunda with their materialistic ideas. But Radha Kunda is far beyond anything of this mundane world, and even more exalted than Govardhan. Hence the ill-fated Prakriti Sahajas cannot actually live at Radha Kunda, nor touch even a drop of her sacred water. In a lecture at Radha Kunda in 1932, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati stated, "All these days we have not spoken to everyone about Leela. The reason is that this is our greatly confidential asset, our only objective. You should not mistakenly consider anartha nivritti as prayojana." In other words, those who are still trying to clear away material desires of various subtle and gross natures. This is not the goal. This is a necessity to help us to become eligible to approach the goal. But without complete removal of anarthas, we cannot approach that goal. You should know mistakenly, anarthas mean any kind of material desire, attachment, concept, etc. You should not mistakenly consider anartha nivritti as prayojana or goal, for one thus surmising can never enter into artha pravritti. I'll tell you what that is in a minute. Therefore, I will begin speaking about Astakalya Leela. I know that even now you are not ready to hear it. These are the daily pastimes of Radha and Krishna and his associates in Braj. Yet we should know that such a transcendental ideal does exist within the realm of bhajan. This is why anartha nivritti is essential. After that comes artha pravritti, namely that in the supra-mundane realm there is service to the divine pastime couple. Without knowing this, all our efforts may end in voidism. On the spiritual realm, real devotional service is manifest perpetually in relationship with the Lord and his pure devotees. Constant mood of service. But it's artha pravritti, action, activities which are eternally meaningful. They're the nature of the soul. It's not just the reflection of this world full of our own self-centered objectives. Let those who have chanted Harinam for 15 or 20 years hear such matters. And of course his disciples, they were all supposed to chant 64 rounds minimum daily. And we're struggling with 16. Okay, give some credit. 16 times 4, how many is that? 72. So after 72 to 100 years of chanting, maybe. Beginners need not hear these topics, for they would misunderstand. These subjects are for Sevan Mukha listeners, not for all, for those whose senses are 100% engaged for the pleasure of Krishna. Appana bhajana kata na kahiba yata tata. I will not speak here and there to anyone and everyone about my bhajan. Disregard of this instruction of our previous acharyas will cause a permanent fall from the realm of bhajan. Do not think that Astakalya Leela Smaran is the property of Prakriti Sahajas. It is actually our affair. It has to be retrieved from their hands, of the cheaters. Our Guru Maharaj heard these things from Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and in turn revealed to us various esoteric matters. We have heard the last instructions from our Sri Gurudev. Living in Radha Kunda would be pleasant if you could deliver it from the hands of 11 ungodly men. Interesting. The hands of 11 ungodly men. There were certain Babajis residing there. Perhaps by now 11 has increased to 108. In reply to a person contemplating performing Nirjana Bhajan on the banks of Radha Kunda, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati wrote, Persons envious of the Lord suppose that Radha Kund and other such places are for those like themselves. So we wish them well and conscientiously continue with their duties of service to the Lord. Residence at Radha Kund is obtained by exceedingly good fortune. It is not a suitable place for materialists like myself, who thus, being unable to directly reside there, may do so only mentally. The harmonists define Radha Kund as the reservoir of all services, expressions of adoration that Radhika and her damsels constantly offer to their lover, Krishna. So our service to Radha Kund, I didn't come across there, but there's a commentary on that somewhere. And it describes as our service is to spread the Sankirtan movement. And it was in Radha Kund, not on the banks of Radha Kund. Sometimes we see a painting of Prabhupada and his son walking with Bhakti Siddhanta Maharaj on the banks, but actually it took place in the house where Bhakti Siddhanta Maharaj was staying, where Bhakti Siddhanta Maharaj informed him that if ever you get money, right there in the area of Radha Kund, he said, if ever you get money, print books. That was his instruction. Right there in Radha Kund. He didn't say, stay here and do bhajans or nothing. He said, preach this message of Krishna consciousness to enable everyone to become eligible by hearing these instructions, to become freedom, to free us from our bondage in this world, where we're locked up in our mental concepts. Our intellect is bewildered in this material world, identifying ourselves with a material form or a subtle form, thinking I am knowledgeable, I am this, I am that, all kinds of illusions which we're covered by. By hearing these instructions from the right source, this nectarian subject matter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, or Krishna's pastimes, as Bhagavatam is there, Bhagavad Gita and so on. By hearing this, people will become purified, or released, freed from their bondage in this material world. And whether one becomes, let's say, awakens the mood, which is the mood of Radha Kund, may not be. It may be a reverential mood of devotion. It may be a mood of Sakyaras or another relationship with the Supreme Lord. But whatever it is, this process will release us of our illusions in this world and attain our ultimate cherished goals. So I'll just, now we'll see what, so I'm going to finish on here. And we'll go back to nectar, and those who wish to stay for a few more minutes of whatever. Bhakti Siddhanta Maharaj also said in that lecture, I have taken, he's putting himself in the position of an ordinary person who thinks they're bathing in Radha Kund. I have taken bath in Radha Kund. Yes, I took bath in Radha Kund. Very good. I took a dip in Radha Kund. I am a lump of flesh and blood. Imagine, you're ugly, smelly, whatever bodies that we may have. I don't want to insult anyone, but there's an element of that in every one of us. Decaying body, full of all kinds of things. How can that bathe in Radha Kund? Bathing in Radha Kund is the soul, the purified soul. When our heart is enriched with loving emotions, then we may enter in there. This body is just external. Radha Kund is internal. I am my wife's maintainer. I'm a sannyasi. I'm a Brahmin, a Kshatriya. I'm a Vaishya, Shudra, born Brahmin. I'm qualified. Thinking in any of these ways does not give the qualification to bathe in Radha Kund. What to speak of such materialistic conceptions? If we are filled with the conception of awe and reverence even, we cannot bathe in Radha Kund. We have to walk the path of Sri Radha's maidservants without imitating them, as the Sakhi Bekis do. Simply decorating the body, male body, as if it were female does not qualify one to serve Radha Kund. We've got a lot of work to do. And we'll just finish off with the remainder of these few verses here. It's our cherished goal, but we have a long way to go to reach that goal. It can happen in a moment if we surrender. However, the next verse, one who has actually attained prema, pure love of Krishna, is superior to one who has attained to other stages of devotional service. Those who are in knowledge, those who have reverential knowledge, etc. One who has attained prema is superior. The gopis are exalted above all the advanced devotees because they are always totally dependent upon Sri Krishna, the transcendental cowherd boy. Among the gopis, Srimati Radharani is the most dear to Krishna. Her Kund is as profoundly dear to Krishna as is most beloved of the gopis. Who then will not reside at Radha Kund? And in a spiritual body, surcharged with ecstatic devotional feelings, render loving service to the divine couple, Shri Shri Radha Govinda, who perform their Astakaliya Leela, their eternal eightfold daily pastimes. Indeed, those who execute devotional service on the banks of Radha Kund are the most fortunate people in the universe. It is recommended in the previous verse 7 that we go stay in Vrindavan and serve the associates of Vrindavan. Well, here we are. Srila Prabhupada is an eternal servant of Radha and Krishna. So we're getting this fortune of being able to serve him. And by serving those who are fortunate, we may also awaken good fortune and become eligible in time. Let's skip over this purport and we'll go to the last verse. And taking shelter, Prabhupada says we should take shelter of Radha Kund, means taking shelter of the pure devotees who are in Radha Kund, who are eligible to be there. We take shelter of them. By their mercy we can become eligible. The last verse. Of the many objects of favoured delight, and of all the lovable damsels of Brajabhumi, Srimati Radharani is certainly the most treasured object of Krishna's love. And in every respect, her divine Kund is described by great sages as similarly dear to him. Undoubtedly, Radha Kund is very rarely attained, even by the great devotees, not to speak of us. Therefore, it is even more difficult for ordinary devotees to attain. If one simply bathes once within those holy waters, one's pure love of Krishna is fully aroused. And elsewhere, what does it say? Here it says. In this connection, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati writes that even great sages and great devotees like Narada and Sanaka do not get an opportunity to come to Radha Kund to take their baths. What then to speak of ordinary devotees? If by great fortune one gets an opportunity to come to Radha Kund and bathe even once, he can develop his transcendental love for Krishna, exactly as the gopis did. To attain that, one has to be completely pure. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Sri Radha Kunda ki jai, Sri Bahulastami ki jai, Gaur Premanandi. Any questions, comments? Rather heavy, sobering subject matter. If we're in Vrindavan, we might be hearing all kinds of pastimes. You can read those too. And no doubt it's from the bona fide source, it can be purifying, but we've got to be careful. Take a little bit of heed of our actual situation that we're in. Not to become sahajas and start thinking, now I'm eligible to hear Astakaliya Leela with his bag of bones and flesh and with all of our anartas. Oh, okay.